Okay, good afternoon, people. This is second ARC summit here in Ireland. And we are here to think about equity, well-being and creativity. If this was a summit, a similar summit taking place 16 years ago, these would not be the themes of our gathering. I think we would be more concerned about things like standards, about the assessments, the curriculum, certainly technology. In this room 16 years ago, there would be many people who would favor excellence and quality before equality or equity in education. There would be many of you who would say that you can only have one of those. So you can either have education system that is excellent and high quality, where students are achieving high, or that you can have an education system that is more equal, equitable, where the differences between learning, the students' learning are smaller. And there would be a fierce political debates during the coffee breaks and lunches in the summit 16 years ago, which one of these models we should follow. Now, 16 years later, in this summit, as we have heard, we can have both excellence or quality of learning outcomes and equity within the same system simultaneously if we have smart policies and we are following right types of drivers in our education reforms. One thing that we know for sure when it comes to building more equitable system that we are doing in this summit here is that how we fund our schools is absolutely critical thing. I would raise it actually one of the key conditions for building an equitable education system. In many parts of the world, schools are still funded based on the head count, how many students, how many pupils there are, and then the money follows the students in a school, regardless of where the kids come from. But here we know that this is not the way to build equitable system. Then we have those school systems where the school funding is depends on how wealthy or poor the district or neighborhood is, where the kids go to school. So therefore, how we are funding the schools has become a key question. The schools need to receive resources based on the needs of the students and the needs of the community, so that they can fund all those inequalities and cope with those inequalities that children bring to school every day. One of the key things, and I'm going to tell you 2 or 3 concrete things that we can do and that you can do through your policies and through your leadership if you have a more equitable education system in mind. The first one of them is to make sure that you have a special education policy and strategy in place. And this is where the more equitable funding comes into a question. And it's not only having special needs teachers in the schools and special education programs offered to students, but it has to be comprehensive. The special education has to cover all those different needs and areas of development that the children need to be successful. If you look at the countries across the OECD, for example, or around the world, there are huge differences in the numbers of children who are receiving special education in the school systems. In Finland, for example, almost 1/3 of the basic school students are receiving some kind of special needs support at any given time. In some other education systems, it's about 1/3 of that. So we need to have a special education system that is providing support and help to young people upfront, as early as possible. An example from my own country, Finland, every school has what we call a student welfare team, where the teachers and experts are meeting weekly and making sure that every single child will receive help and support to learn and feel well in a school. The second condition for building a more equitable education system is to make sure that every child have access to early childhood education and care. In many parts of the world, again, it happens to be that those children who probably need less of the early childhood and educational services have access to preschool and early childhood and care. And those children who would benefit more of those things are left outside. We heard earlier from Ken Robinson and others in this summit that at the time when the children are entering school, the gaps, the differences are already so huge and big that the school education cannot really do that much. Then the third one is the making sure that we have a whole child rich curriculum that is looking at the intelligences and talents broadly in a school. We should not only focus on the basic skills and test those skills, because that's, as we heard earlier, is a key to more unequal education. So my appeal here for you as leaders is to make sure that whenever we have conversations, whenever we are in a summits and meetings like this, where equity is at the agenda, is to make sure that we have a full understanding what we are talking about. If this was a meeting 16 years ago, many of you would probably think about equity as equality, meaning that we have to give everybody, all the children, the same curriculum, same programs, and same opportunities to be successful. But we know now that equity is much more than that. It means that we give everybody, all the children, what they need to be successful. And that's why special education, rich curriculum, whole child approach, all those things are absolutely critical. So let me close by reminding you and us all here what Leo Tolstoy said. He said that in education, once again, the chief things are equity and freedom. Thank you very much.